Welcome back to Bachelor Nation's favorite podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe here and follow us on Instagram at E&G Podcast. Available now are previous episodes with Bachelor favorites including Luke Pell, Ashley Iconetti, Robbie Hayes, Leah Block, and much more. Plus, this season with Nick, we're bringing you weekly recaps, Bachelorette interviews, and exclusive offers from friends of the podcast. Thanks for listening.
You at E&G, you guys are getting out there, man. You guys are diligent.
I'd say with Lace, it's dicks over chicks, 100% of the time.
I wanted her to be happy, and what choice that was up to her.
I'm busy. I'm in it to win it. I love them. They're so fun.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Ian.
Today's episode of the E&G Podcast is sponsored by our good friends at Clothing by Owl. All you Bachelor fans will recognize this name as they are the company behind the hugely popular Wine Bachelor and Yoga Pants tank top. What you may not know is that they give back a percentage of every item sold to Animal Rescue, and that notable Bachelor alums like JoJo Fletcher, Caitlin Bristow, Lauren Bushnell, Ben Higgins, and Nick Viall are all huge supporters. We're happy to offer our listeners 20% off when you visit clothingbyowl.com. Simply add the discount code ENG, that's EANDG, to save on all your Bachelor gear. And be sure to follow them on social media at Clothing by Owl.
Jeff and I are doggy dads, which is why we're so excited to be partnering with our newest sponsor, Puppies Make Me Happy. They have a super simple mission to make the happiest clothes on earth, which they do. And we know our listeners will love this brand just as much as we do. Plus, we're excited to help spread a little happiness ourselves by offering listeners 20% off all merchandise by using discount code ENG. That's EANDG at checkout. Make sure to follow them on Instagram at Puppies Make Me Happy.
Welcome back to the E&G Podcast. This is not Ian, this is Jeff. Ian, what's up, man?
What's up, not Jeff?
Hey, dude. No, I'm not Ian. I am Jeff. Ah, damn it.
You're Jeff? I mean, wait a minute.
Who's who? What's going on? I'm so out of it. So we just recorded a great interview with Liz Elizabeth Sandoz. People will know her as the girl who slept with Nick at Jade and Tanner's wedding, and then she was on the show, and now she's not on the show because she slept with Nick at Jade and Tanner's wedding. Ian, I thought this was a great interview. We got some great insight. What do you think?
We did. I mean, so here's the thing. Liz was a point of drama in the house, obviously, right? They really played up her storyline. She had a history with Nick. It was something that the women found out about this last episode, most recently, right? And so episode 3 started with Liz had been sent home. Now all the women are finding out that her and Nick had this history together. I say that stuff because any of our listeners know what is true and what's not. That was the gray area, right? And so I think there was so many questions. We got a bunch of emails as well of people just saying like, hey, if you guys talk to Liz, can you just clear up what's actually happening versus what we're being shown? Because I feel like her portrayal was definitely one-sided, right? Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, we talked to her about that. They definitely made her come off like the crazy chick, and she even alludes to it. I won't give anything away, but she made a joke about it in the interview. But yeah, totally. She was there for a reason. She got on the show because they knew they could play up that storyline.
Totally. And I mean, it put her at a disadvantage going into it. I think having just did the interview with her, just concluding it, I think everybody's going to be walking away from this feeling much differently about Liz. I feel like that's fair to say. I think she explained away a lot of what came off as her being disingenuous, as she had good reason for it.
Dude. God.
You
and your silky smooth broadcasting voice.
You love to correct, man. You love to correct. But how did that feel, Jeff, when I got the compliment from Liz, which, by the way, was not my first compliment about my voice coming through? Dang, man. That felt good. I love Liz. Liz is great. I think that was a lot of fun. So
loves the compliments, dude.
Who doesn't, right? I mean, and other things to get into.
She enjoys your phony voice that you put on for the podcast.
This is how I sound, guys. So another thing too. So we talked Jade and Tanner. Spoke about that. We talked about her relationship with Nick, how she was portrayed. We also got into her feelings on some of the other women in the house, specifically Kristen, and whether she felt as though Kristen kind of threw under the bus. And so I think there's There's a lot of good insight here, and we know you guys are going to enjoy it.
Enjoy.
Hello.
Liz, welcome to the E&G podcast.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
doing
you. Yeah, thanks for making the time, Liz. We appreciate it.
Yeah, sorry the schedule was kind of all over the place.
No, it's all good. I'm sure you've had a lot on your plate, especially after these first couple episodes aired, and we want to certainly dive into all that. But I wanted to ask you too. So we're going to definitely talk about a little bit of the editing and some of the portrayal, and because we want to hear it from you, right? We want to clear the air. But I think one of the things they did, which was kind of an injustice, is just gloss over who you are and what you're all about, right? I mean, you are a doula, which assists in childbirth, right? And then you're also, I think, a life coach, right? Based off of your website, you had a trip to Africa. So what are you up to now? Like, what do you do outside of the show?
I have like 12 jobs, I feel like. I'm always all over the place. So I write a travel blog. So that's most of my travels is like just kind of for that, for like doing volunteer work and just life experience. And actually after one of those trips was when I decided to go through a program to get certified to do life coaching. So with the coaching stuff, it's just I'm just a huge fan on helping people get unstuck in their life and like just getting rid of the things that's like holding them back from doing what you really want to do. I really believe that each person is created with purpose and passion and talents and all these things for a reason, and the world needs that. But we're all in our own heads blocking ourselves. So that kind of inspired me to take that route. And then the doula stuff I just had a birth a couple weeks ago. I'm going to be doing an online workshop for that here in a couple weeks, which is super exciting. And then I work in Vegas like half the year, and then I travel half the year.
Oh, wow. So, very cool.
Yeah, I'm all over the place.
That's awesome, though. And it's like, I wanted to lead with that because if you just watch the show, your impression, I think a lot of people's impression was like, Liz is here for the wrong reasons. She wants to be famous. She wants to be on TV. And like, based off of who you are from what we can see, that's like not the case, right? I mean, we'll dive into that a little bit more. I guess I also wanted to ask you too up front about Jade, right? I mean, you guys talked, it was talked a bunch about on the show, but how do you know Jade? Are you guys from the same small town?
Yeah, so I've known Jade since I was 5 years old. So she and I grew up together in Nebraska. So she and I go way back.
There you go. So what kind of advice did Jade give you when you were thinking about going into this process? She just told me, she said it's so hard to give advice on it because there's nothing like it. And now after being in it, I can see that, that there's really nothing quite like being there. But she just told me just to be real, to be myself, and to understand that, it is a TV show though too. So just be smart and, just be myself. That's good advice. I guess at the end of the day, I know Jeff wants to get into some stuff here, but what ultimately, prior to saying, yes, I want to be on the show, what was that kind of final determining factor, right? Like, what was the thing that really made you want to go try it out?
Well, first of all, I just want to say you have like an amazing radio voice.
I appreciate that. You hear that, Jeff?
Uh-oh. Ian's got 2 compliments now in the last month. His fucking head's going to explode.
He has like such like, it's like the soothing, but yet like, and kind of animated voice. It's very nice.
I appreciate that, Liz. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So honestly, the reason I said yes to go on the show is because I wanted kind of that last chance to see if there was a connection with Nick. So that was that final straw for me. Like once they announced it was him, then I was like, okay, like I'm sure we'll get into some of that later. Like I was trying to cross paths with him again. I didn't know he was going to be the Bachelor. And then when I found out that he was, like, I'm a huge advocate for kind of living with no regrets and taking risks. So I was just kind of like, F it, like I wanted to see if we did have a really good time together before. I wanted to see if that connection was still there. It seemed like we were at the same place in our lives now, like where we both were, wanting relationships and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, like I just kind of dove in. I literally didn't get cleared from everything to go on the show until Tuesday, and I flew out Wednesday. So it was super last minute. Like I flew to LA that Monday, had like my final interview stuff, and had to have all my bags and everything packed by that Wednesday, like to leave to go on the show. So I don't think I even had time to think. Like I was just kind of like, I want to see if like there is a connection. This is something super crazy. It doesn't seem like something I would do, but then I'm like, wait, Liz, like you do crazy shit all the time. Like just do it. So so I did. That was kind of the final straw, I guess, for me to say yes.
Well, that's good stuff. Liz, this is Jeff, and this is my voice. This is how I normally talk, too. No, we want to ask you, this is my real voice. So,
Stop it.
What, how do you feel about your editing? We always like to ask everyone we talk to about how they feel about their editing, because some people come on and they're saying, oh, you know, I thought it was pretty fair, and other people are like, oh, man, I got fucked. Like, they added audio from another day to this and made it look like I said this when, you know, you couldn't see my face. So did you feel the editing was good? Because Ian kind of touched on it. You know, they kind of made you somewhat come off as like this crazy girl a little bit who slept with Nick once and now you're back or something. You know what I mean? Like, and we didn't really get that vibe because we understand how TV works. But how do you feel about all that?
I think it's really funny, and the thing that I keep thinking about is just the girl from Wedding Crashers, where she's like, "I will find you."
Yeah.
So funny.
I think it's like pretty humorous, honestly. Like, is it me? No. Like, whatever. It's a TV show. You know what I mean? They're gonna make it look however. And are there things that I said? Absolutely. You know, but I was just kind of disappointed because the only thing that, like, I was ever asked about was that night with Nick, and it was very important for me to not talk about it, like, on camera or, like, in an interview until I had the chance to talk with him. So, and I even said that in a lot of my interviews, but I think it's really funny how you hear me say certain things that you never see those words come out of my mouth because I never said them.
Right. And how often do you get to see Nick when you're in the house? Because I mean, my wife last night said something about, you know, when they show some of these girls crying when they get sent home, my wife's laughing going, what did they know the guy for 2 days? I'm like, I think they've been there for 2 weeks at this point, or maybe 3. Like, I'm not even sure. How often do you get to see him? Are you mostly just hanging out with the women and then he pops in, and if you get on a date, you do or not? Because they showed you a couple times saying, I really want to talk to Nick and like kind of clear the air. So you just don't get to see him?
Right. Not really. And like when he does come by the house, like, I mean, I wasn't there very long at all, so I'm not sure how it goes after you make it a few more days in. But you don't see him that much, you know. And it's also one of those things, like, I know, like, even on our group date, I think Nick's a great guy. Like, I know he wanted to take time to talk with each girl. And the girls that I was on the group date with, like, I was super fortunate because we all really respected each other and wanted each other to have that chance to. None of us interrupted. We waited for Nick to come and grab us. You know what I mean? Like, we wanted each girl to have that. And that's something we talked about on our group date. Like, the girls I went on that date with, like, I absolutely adored. And, like, we talked about it on the way over there. We're like, let's just let everyone, like, have their time. Nobody interrupted that night. Like, everyone just, like, waited till he came back and grabbed the next person because we know how that goes. And we didn't want it to be a competition because it's not a competition. It's about a connection. You know, it's like not fighting over like, oh, I'm going to win this. Like, what are you trying to win? Like, you got to see if there's a connection for both of you, you know? So,
yeah, right. We definitely noticed that. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, so, I mean, it is hard because it's like such a brief moment that you get to spend time with him. But I do think in that moment, you can tell if you have a connection with somebody or not. And, but I also think a lot of things are, I'm sure, very enhanced by the environment as well.
Well, yeah, we did. I was talking to my wife about that last night, that some of the girls are very supportive of the other girls. Like last night's episode, they showed Dominique kind of breaking down, and then some of the girls are like, are you okay? Like, and it's a weird thing because some of the girls are definitely there like, I don't care about these other girls. I'm here to win. And then other ones are just, like you're saying, it seems there's a lot more genuine, nice people there that are just like, hey, are you all right? Like, you're a human being who's kind of going through a rough moment. Like, you want me to talk to you? You know what I mean? And it's not as competitive between the girls.
Well, that was, like, the first thing that I honestly noticed, like, after meeting the girls and moving into the house, like, we had so many conversations about that, how, lot of the women there, like, were awesome. Super supportive of each other, very, even fighting for each other to get time with Nick. They'd be like, no, you need to go talk to him now. Or like, hey, like, I already talked to him last night. You talk to him tonight. You get to talk to him before I do. Like, girls were like that there, and they don't show that. Like, they were so supportive of each other. And I am a huge fan of the women there this season. They are the shit. Like, they are so cool. I absolutely adore them. They were so supportive of each other. And so after I got sent home, I didn't get to go back to the house to pack my stuff. And so they packed everything for me, brought it to me. And I wear glasses, but I don't wear them all the time. And so like a week after I got home, I opened my eyeglass case, and I had notes from the girls in there, from 4 of the girls in there, just saying, like, Liz, we're not sure what happened, but we just want you to know you're a wonderful woman. Like, we love you, blah, blah, blah. I was, like, bawling reading these notes from, like, the girls that they, like, because they weren't able to say goodbye, so they wrote me notes and, like, packed it in my stuff for me.
That's super
and I was,
sweet.
like,
do you want to call out who
I was
those?
like, oh, my gosh.
Do you want to call out who those ladies were? Just give them a shout out,
Yeah,
because that's awesome.
It was Taylor wrote me a note, Vanessa wrote me a note, then both of the Danielles.
All those people
Danielle
seem super nice.
I know,
They
they really
are.
do.
And they're people who, like, get it. You know what I mean? Like, you go there and you're like, okay, like, I understand we're all doing something a little crazy here, you know, but I know that Nick had said that he wanted women that were, like, confident and knew what they wanted and all this stuff, and he definitely had a house full of those women.
Well, that's good. Listen, I have to ask you this before we're going to get back to some of that other stuff, but I feel like everybody kind of wants to know what exactly happened at the wedding. We know you and Nick met and you guys hooked up, blah, blah, blah. Why? Because I'm kind of confused too as to why you wouldn't give your number if somebody asked for it, because I know not everyone, I guess, has been in that situation, but I know Ian and I have both been in situations where something like that has happened in our past. And I feel like if I said to a girl, like, oh, cool, like, what's your number? Let's keep in touch. And she said no, that would be kind of weird. But we weren't there. So did you feel Nick asked in a weird way? Or did it not seem genuine? Did it seem like he was just asking just to ask? What was that vibe like?
No, I mean, I think it was kind of a combination, honestly. I didn't know him. And honestly, I still don't know Nick. But from what I know about him, like, I just watched last night's episode this morning. And, sorry, there's, like, cops driving by here. But
are you trying to get back to the mansion to see Nick? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they're going to stop me, man. I was like, I'm busting in. So I was totally drawn toward him that night, and we did have a lot of fun. I was just in such a weird place in my life. And, wait, did you guys watch so I posted yesterday this clip online from my audition tape that I made. And my tape, or it's not a tape, it's not 1990, whatever, video that I made. And I made this video, and it totally shows my personality, but it's on YouTube. And at the beginning, there's this song that goes, once upon a time, not long ago, I was a hoe. And I'm admitting it, and I'm like, it's just like this really funny video. And I just went through this phase in my life where I was really trying to, like, find myself, and I had been hurt, and I had whatever. And I was just kind of sick of the games or whatever, so I just wanted, like, a moment to be able to be a moment. You know what I mean? Like, okay, that happened. We don't need to keep in touch. Like, we had a great time, and I just feel like women feel so obligated these days, you know what I mean, to say yes or give a number or whatever. And I think I kind of went opposite of that. If I'm this independent, I don't need you. I'm not giving you my number. Like, I was very, like, kind of went the opposite way, just really trying to balance myself out, I guess. And also, like, I was kind of in love with somebody at that time as well, that I had met Nick, and it was just kind of one of those timing things that I wasn't with this other person. This person didn't want to be in a relationship, and I feel like I had a connection with Nick, but, like, it wouldn't have been fair to give him my number when I had feelings for someone else.
So you were just kind of like we all have been, like, just in your own head dealing with your own things at the time.
Yeah, totally. It was just like one of those situations, and I didn't really know him, you know, and yeah, so I definitely see, like, for him, like, why that would be weird, you know?
I have clarity, Ian. I can finally move on with my life now that I know.
I think a lot of listeners, I mean, that's been a question. We've got a bunch of emails about it. Another thing that's come up a bunch is Liz, there's no way you said Jade and Tanner's wedding that many times. Is that editing? Can you just confirm that for us, or was that them just asking you that question repeatedly?
I'm sorry, you cut out for like a brief second. Can you just repeat that?
Oh, it's all right. We're making this happen when you're in your car, just so everybody's listening understands that. But so Jade and Tanner's wedding was said, like that phrase was said so many times, but there's no way that you actually said it that many times, right? Was that the editing kind of being put over you just so they could keep getting that comment coming from you? Does that make sense?
I would say just when you watch it, see how many times you actually see it come out of my mouth.
All
exactly.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is exactly what we're talking
Audio
about.
dubs.
It's audio dub. Jeff and I have we confirmed this with some other guests in the past, specifically during Paradise, that the producers actually pulled audio from a previous season that the contestant was on and put it on her in Paradise. So there you go. So we totally understand that, but I want to clear that up because that was a point of just kind of, why does she keep talking about Jade and Tanner's wedding? It's like, I really don't think she's talking about it that much. Yeah, I really don't.
No.
So I also wanted to ask you, Liz, about the Public Breakup. So this was the group date that you were on, and you actually wrote out a very genuine and heartfelt breakup to Nick that was based largely around truth, right? So how did you kind of go after that? Was that you just saying, I want to embrace this challenge and kind of do something a little unique? Like, what was the thought process there?
Well, I kind of went one or two ways. Like, at first, I wrote a rap. I was going to rap my breakup to him because that, like, kind of shows my personality. And I'm a huge dork, and I just, like to laugh at myself a lot. And, well, first of all, I think everybody has that thing where I think I'm hilarious, but every person thinks that they're hilarious. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah. So
Jeff definitely knows what you're talking about.
yeah, I'm always like, oh my God, I'm so freaking hilarious. And my friends are like, it's funny how funny you think you are. And I'm like, okay. So I was like, I'm going to rap my breakup to him, whatever. But then they also told us, like, this is your chance to say, and I even told them, like, this isn't, like, just to you, like, yeah, I started it out kind of like how we met, but just, like, everything that you wanted to say to anybody that you've ever dated. You know, and I ended up deciding to be vulnerable in that moment because that's something I usually resort to humor when I feel uncomfortable. And I felt super uncomfortable every time I was around him. Like, I was like, oh shit, this is weird. Why did I come? I was like, I'll just wrap it out, you know, no big deal. And then I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm just going to be real for a minute. And, yeah, so I mean, that's just kind of when I wrote it out. And it wasn't just toward him, obviously, because he didn't date, so there's things in there that wouldn't make sense. But, like, just in general, like how most women I know feel when they've gone through a relationship, they want a guy who would have fought for them. They want somebody who, you know, would go the extra mile or just, like, take a chance, you know. So it was just, like, I guess one of those moments where I'm like, might look a little crazy here, but I'm just going to be completely authentic and kind of say what every woman probably has wanted to say during a breakup.
Totally. And,
right.
and you didn't slap him. I mean, Josephine got out there and just straight up went for the slap. So
Talk about editing, man. Talk about editing. They tease that the whole time. Like, look, he gets slapped this season. Then it turned out to be a little acting thing where he gets slapped. But anyway, did you feel, we're wondering about this too, do you feel that Kristen threw you under the bus in any way? Because you told her about you and Nick and she said, you can trust me. And then it looked like on TV, went and told everybody before you had a chance to talk to Nick.
Yeah, I think that it's one of those things that you don't understand what it's like being in that house until you're there.
Right.
And she and I, like, were able to have a conversation after, and I absolutely, like, love and adore her. So I would say, like, in that moment, I was confused as to what had happened, you know, like, because I didn't get the chance to talk to her. I didn't know how things went down. I didn't know, you know, I thought things maybe sounded way different than they were. And so I didn't get the chance to talk to her, but I mean, she and I have talked since. I consider her a friend. And yeah, it's like one of those things in the moment I did, but you don't understand what it's like being there until you're there. And you're like, oh, okay, I get why you would say that.
Right.
Totally. It played bad only because she had kind of looked at you right in the face and said, you can trust me. And then she immediately goes, and when she has her alone time with Nick. So it was just one of those things. It's not a good look, but we also wanted to ask.
I also feel like
before
you ask that question, I also feel like she might have just, when she was talking to Nick, been nervous, and you kind of don't know what to talk about, and that was in the back of her mind. It just kind of came out.
Sure. I think that's totally fair, right? But so one thing we wanted to ask you too, Liz, is just in terms of first impressions. And so you were in the house for a couple days or about a week or so, right? And you made it through obviously night one, and there was, I'm sure, a lot of nerves. I mean, we've talked to a bunch of people and they say that night one is really the most nervous they were throughout the process, unless you've made it kind of all the way to the end, because there's so much going on. You have this, I think we just talked to Chase and he's like, you have a $30,000 camera like right in your face. It's really awkward. So how did you think, was there a woman that really stood out to you, right? That first night that when you walked in the house, you said, wow, I think she's going to be a front runner this season?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I thought Vanessa, absolutely, like she was just gorgeous and such a great personality, and I was like, I love you. And I think then over the next couple of days I got to know a lot of girls. So then like Danielle Maltby, like I just absolutely adored her, and I think they asked me in an interview too, like who I thought the top 4 would be, and I think I picked Danielle L, Danielle M, Vanessa, and Rachel. And they those girls just like, I think that they just took, it's so easy to get in your head there, you know what I mean? But just like amazing personality, super genuine. I thought all the girls were awesome though, but like I definitely gravitated a little bit more towards some than others. But
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting now because I mean, I've been in touch with the girls, so like you hear what happens, but it's interesting like seeing it like airing now, and I'm excited to watch like their love stories unfold.
So you said that obviously you're going to be closer with some girls than the others. What do you feel about Corinne? What was she really like? And is she just being completely edited to come across the way she's coming across? Or is she like that? Or was she not really getting along with people?
I was only like you said, I was only in the house really for like a few days. And you bond with people super quickly because you're with each other 24/7. You're in this like weird ass Bachelor Twilight Zone. And so I didn't actually talk to Corinne that much. But so I think she's adorable. She and I didn't have very many interactions. Since I didn't have any interactions really with her, I can't really say anything. Like she was never rude to me. She was never I don't know. I felt like I never heard about any of the drama. Like when they came back from the one group date, like I was just always like in the kitchen making guacamole. Like what fuck? Like I don't know what's going on.
You're out of the loop, Liz. Damn.
Liz, just from being on the show though, like you're watching the show then obviously, right?
Yeah, I am.
So last night especially I noticed they're doing a good job, and again, we have no clue what it was really like, but when Corinne says something to the other girls, not when she's being, whatever, sexually aggressive, whatever. But I'm saying like when she's sitting around the other girls and she makes a comment, like she's trying to talk to them, they're editing it, at least, maybe it would like that, to look like no one wants anything to do with Corinne. Do you think that's editing, or do you think everyone is kind of just like, this girl?
I think I'm not sure. Like, it was hard because the first, like, she was gone on the group date. Like, literally, we moved in and it was crazy. And then the next day, they went on a group date and they were gone all day. So she was with those girls. And then the next day, I was on a group date, gone all day. And then, like, I went home, So so the girls I was with didn't have many interactions with her at that point either. Right. So definitely. I'm sure it's both. Like, I'm sure you do get annoyed with people in the house, and everybody wants the same thing, and it's hard. But, I have no idea because I wasn't there, and I don't know. I think she's adorable, though. I kind of want to put her in my pocket and, like, carry her around because she seems like she's fun.
So she definitely seems like she's fun. I think Nick said that a number of times last night as well. One of the things we have to ask you about the first night, Liz, is the chemistry, right? Like when you saw Nick again, I think the show made a really big deal about does he know who Liz is? Does he recognize her? And then like it kind of dawned on him pretty quickly, but you didn't know that, right? So you walked in the house and said, hey, I don't know if Nick remembers me or not. I'm going to play this out. What was that like the first night?
I mean, it was hard because it's like you say hi and then you don't get the chance to talk to him for like 6 more hours. You know what I mean? So the whole time I was like, I have no idea if he knows who I am because and even now I have this thing where I feel like people don't recognize me. Like since the show, like just in the last couple of days, I've had random people ask me like, oh, are you Liz from The Bachelor? And I always go, no, I'm Mrs. Iglesias. But then I like laugh with them and I'm like, yeah, whatever. And so I'm like, how do you recognize me? Like I'm like, how do you recognize me? Like I just feel like people don't know who I am. Like I'll meet somebody and it's like, they're like, yeah, dude, I already met you. I was like, oh, okay. Like I just didn't know if you remembered. Like I think I just have a familiar face and people are always like, oh, you remind me of this person, or oh, you look like my friend, blah, blah, blah. So I'm always like, oh, like, hey, I'm Liz. You know, like, I don't know. So I just never know if people are going to recognize me. And I mean, we did have a lot to drink that night. So there was anticipation, but I wasn't worried about it either way. I'm like, either way, like, I'm here. I took a risk, and either he's going to be like, yeah, I remember you, not so much. Or he might be like, no, I don't. We did? What? You know, cool, whatever. So it's, I think that I was just kind of whatever, like either way about it. I mean, I think in that moment, you've been up for like 24 hours and I'd been drinking all day. I was probably like way more nervous and freaking out than.
Well, that's just to clarify for everybody listening, how long is that first night? Because I swear to you, some of the women, when they were getting eliminated at the rose ceremony, were walking out into the daylight and you're going, whoa, how long did that last, the ceremony?
Yeah. Well, I mean, from the time the first limo gets there till like the time you, I don't know, get back to your hotel that first night, it's like a long time, like 12 hours.
12 hours. So, I mean, yeah, and you guys are drinking. There's a lot of nerves. So, I mean, I get how it could come off one way when in reality, when you're there, everybody's just trying to like make the most of the situation, right? But one of the things we do have to ask you too is when you did get that alone time with Nick, ultimately, that conversation, it played awkward, right? Because it played like, hey, Liz, like Nick's talking, hey, Liz, you know, why are you here? What have you been up to for 9 months? You know, like what happened with everything? And it almost felt like you were digging yourself in this hole with the explanation. Talking to you now and the explanation you provided up front, I don't see that personally. And I think Jeff and I, again, he mentioned it earlier, when we're watching the show, we're trying to get to like what's actually happening, not what's being shown. But did you feel like that was a fair characteristic of that conversation? Was it really that awkward?
It was pretty awkward. I'm not going to lie. I also have this thing where, like, even with the breakup thing, I wrote it down because I process things in my mind. And, like, I'm a writer. Like, I write a travel blog. I'm very good at writing things down. But when I have to, like, I'll be thinking about something, and then when I go to open my mouth, I'm like, But, like, I felt that I felt like I did explain myself for my reasonings why, and it wasn't really shown. But, I mean, even in our group date then, Nick said the more I talk to her, the more it doesn't make sense. I feel like that's the only part that doesn't make sense to me because I thought everything I said made sense, but also I'm hearing myself in my head, and we all have different interpretations of what people are saying. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know what didn't make sense to him, but because I thought I explained it really well, because I just let him know, you know, that I did want to take a risk. Like, it seemed like we were at the same place, and I did try running into him before the show. Like, he's like, well, why didn't you get it? And it's like, well, because I had recently, just right before that, was some friends were like, I think you guys would really get along. And I was like, cool, well, you should invite Nick to this event. Like, I actually would really like to talk to him and get to know him more. You know, we did have a connection that night. I am in a different place. And they're like, cool. And they invited him, and he couldn't go. Okay. And then a week later, they announced that he was going to be the Bachelor. Well, at that point, I'm not going to reach out to him then. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, they just announced you're the Bachelor. Oh, by the way, hey. Like,
right.
No way.
Did you?
You know, and what?
Liz, did you? Because when you explained it to us, I mean, the reason I asked you the question, we asked the question is because, you know, people could be going through any number. There's a zillion reasons why people could be in a different place or whatever. And when you said to us just now that you were in love with somebody else, so it sounds like you kind of got out of a relationship or something, and that person didn't want to be with you when you met Nick at Jade and Tanner's wedding. Did you tell Nick about that? Because that kind of, when you told me, I was like, oh, well, that totally makes sense. She was just in a place where she?
He knew about it at the wedding. So
Oh,
at the
okay.
wedding, I did tell him. I was like, you know what? I go, there is somebody else that I really care about, and he was totally cool with it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
okay.
he's like, cool. Like, you do your thing, whatever. Like, we had a good time, and I mean, it ended fine. And we had like a honest conversation, and I mean, that was it. I do think like he's like, oh, okay, cool, you know, and moved on with his life, and I kind of did the same thing. And I didn't bring it back up like at the house. You know what I mean?
Right.
I didn't want to like replay things for the camera. Like Nick and I know what happened.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I was just wondering
So-
if he knew about the other guy, because that's when you told us that. I don't know about for Ian, but for me, I was like, oh yeah, totally, that makes sense, 100%. Why you wouldn't want to just be exchanging numbers if you knew you weren't like emotionally open to anything.
Yeah, and Nick knew that, and he even said that, like, because I didn't know what he said, like, when I left. So when I watched the episode this morning, he's like, yeah, you know, she wasn't in a place to give me her number. You know, he didn't go into explanation either, and he didn't need to. Like, he knew I wasn't in a place to give him my number,
Right.
you know, and that was fine.
So
Yeah.
Oh, so I was just going to say, now that you are in this place where obviously we're just on The Bachelor, we always like to ask, would you be interested in being on Bachelor in Paradise if they asked? And if they already have, you don't have to tell us, obviously, but like, is that something that sounds like fun?
It does not sound like fun.
And why's that? Why does a tropical paradise not sound like fun?
Because, and I know it's a completely different thing. And Jade even said that. Jade was like, I adore that girl, you know, and she didn't know how any of this was going to go down. And she's been super supportive, and I adore her. And she even told me, she's like, Paradise is so much different, you know, and I'm like, I'm sure it is, you know, but like, I had my experience, like, I'm good. I don't think finding love on a TV show is for me. I don't like, I mean, who knows? My life is really, I don't live a conventional life, and who knows? But like, I think I'm just in a different place right now. And, I don't know. I already like know how I've been portrayed, and it's like, I don't want anything else in my life to get twisted.
Right. So we know you have to wrap. So, Ian, is there anything else you want to ask? I know we have a couple more we want to get to.
Yeah, well, okay. So we talked about Paradise. What is your relationship status now, Liz? What have you been up to? Because obviously the show filmed a while ago. So are you seeing anybody now, or are you still single?
I am seeing somebody.
Oh, so that's why Paradise does not sound fun.
We got to the bottom of that one.
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
Is it serious?
Hey, Liz. Yeah.
What?
Is it serious?
So it's somebody that I've known for a while. So it's not like somebody that I just met. It was somebody who knew like all about the show, who knew like everything in my life, who's kind of been by my side for a while. And I mean, it's I don't like the word serious, I guess. It's like we really care about each other, and we're
neither
trying
do guys,
it out.
by the way. That's good. Neither do guys.
And I thought guys don't like girls giving them their number either. I was like the perfect, like, cool, that was great. I don't have to worry about texting this girl.
But guys also don't like being shot down.
Yeah.
Oh,
goes both ways.
Goes both
But
ways.
I wasn't going to out him. I never said that on camera. Like, he's the one who brought it up. Like, I was never going to say that I didn't give him my number.
Right.
That's actually a really good point. So,
and then after he already mentioned it, then I said it. So
yeah.
I think then they edited it that way. But no, I mean, we really care about each other, and we can see a future with each other, so that's just like how we're taking it. I'm not one of those girls really who like starts dating somebody and I'm like, oh my god, this is my husband, and let's have a beach wedding and let's like whatever. It's like, cool, like I really care about you, like you're somebody like I could see myself doing life with, and we're taking a risk and going that way. But I mean, you never know what life throws at you, you know. So
Yeah.
It's cool. I mean, I really like him.
Well, that is awesome. We hope it works out. And the last thing I just wanted to ask is, I know you mentioned it a little bit, how some people wonder if you're the person from the show or not, but what about the people who know you from the show? Do you have any funny fan stories, whether they're in person or even online? We know there's a lot of weirdos who like to send messages to people they see on TV. online? Are you getting any of that stuff?
Yeah, a little bit, but honestly, like, I was really worried about that I was gonna get like slut shamed because of what happened, because of things that I've seen happen on the show in the past and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I've had some people call me a whore on my Instagram and stuff like that, and
How ridiculous
whatever.
is that, by the way, how people see someone on TV and go, well, I know everything about this person. Like, we just did a live show with
Right.
Chase and Robbie and Lace and James Taylor, and it's just so funny, the comments when we post pictures and people are like, yeah, well, that guy would have sucked because he's stupid and boring. And it's like, who the fuck are you talking about? I don't even know these people.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I've gotten some of that, but it's like you can't. Who cares? Whatever, you know. But
Yeah.
I've actually been super surprised at how supportive people have been. Like, I've just gotten so many messages and comments, people like who don't even know me, being like, well, I saw you on TV, and then like I read your blog, or I saw this, and clearly like you're a completely different person. Like, we just want to know, like, you were so real on the show. Thank you for being authentic. Like, I've just had so much love and support, and that's been really cool. Like, not the reaction that I expected. And I don't really have any fan stories, except for one lady made me take a picture with her son, and she told me that he was in love with me, but he never spoke like one word to me. She's like, will you just take a picture with my son? He's like in love with you. And he just like put his arm around me, smiled, and then like walked away. And I'm like, I think she like forced him to do this. Like, he doesn't even know who I am. She's like trying to like, I don't know.
How old was that kid or person? He's like 42.
He was probably mid-20s.
Oh, really?
Mid-20s.
Oh, that's a
no
little,
talking.
that's a little weird. I pictured like a 12-year-old when you were telling that story.
Seriously.
No.
Well, we love to hear that you're rising above all the haters, because that is certainly important. And we love and support you, Liz, and we appreciate you coming on. One of the things I saw, we want to wrap it up by saying to check you out at aromancedlife.com, right? Which is your blog. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then where else should listeners make sure to follow you? You just want to give a quick shout out to your social media accounts?
Sure. Well, I have my Instagram, just Sandoz, and then my blog Instagram's The Romance Life. And then I also have my website for my doula stuff, and it's just EJ Sandoz. There's no in there. It's EJSandoz.com.
EJSandoz.com.
So, but that's it. I got to tell one quick hater story real quick, though. I've got a lot of people messaging me and saying, like, oh, don't listen to the haters, blah, blah, blah. All these people on Twitter talking shit about you. And I was like, oh, okay. I actually don't even really know how to use Twitter, so I got on the other day, and then I was like just kind of curious, but then I couldn't even figure it out, and I couldn't find one bad comment because I don't know how to work Twitter. And I was like, you know what? That's for the best. Like, I'd rather just not read it. Like, who cares, you know? And but I just thought it was like really funny because it's like all these people talking, like saying things about me that I'm never even going to see because I'm like technologically challenged. So
Works out. Totally works
does.
out. And you know what?
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. I just have to add this before we say goodbye. My wife, I watch the show with her, has a lot to say about the girls. It's not always nice, but my wife made it a point to say, that girl Liz has a great smile. So,
Oh, that's so nice.
no hate coming from Mrs. Keith.
Oh, well, tell her thank you. And thank you guys so much for
Definitely. Thank you, Liz.
Be a
Have a
part
good
of the
rest
show.
have a good rest of your day. We appreciate it.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks,
Bye.
Liz. Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, one last thing. On Instagram, make sure to check out and follow our friends at Bachelor_Nation, who we've teamed up with along with our sponsors to run giveaways and upcoming promotions, which include Skype dates with previous contestants. Thanks so much for listening. Today's episode of the E&G podcast is sponsored by our good friends at Clothing by Owl. All you Bachelor fans will recognize this name as they are the company behind the hugely popular Wine, Bachelor, and Yoga Pants tank top. What you may not know is that they give back a percentage of every item sold to Animal Rescue, and that notable Bachelor alums like JoJo Fletcher, Caitlin Bristow, Lauren Bushnell, Ben Higgins, and Nick Viall are all huge supporters. We're happy to offer our listeners 20% off when you visit clothingbyowl.com. Simply add the discount code ENG, that's EANDG, to save on all your Bachelor gear. And be sure to follow them on social media at Clothing by Owl.
Jeff and I are doggy dads, which is why we're so excited to be partnering with our newest sponsor, Puppies Make Me Happy. They have a super simple mission to make the happiest clothes on earth, which they do. And we know our listeners will love this brand just as much as we do. Plus, we're excited to help spread a little happiness ourselves by offering listeners 20% off all merchandise by using discount code ENG. That's EANDG at checkout. Make sure to follow them on Instagram at Puppies Make Me Happy.
I'm killing it.